All right, so on Friday we started with part 2, and that's what we want to continue on. Going to go fast. You may not have time to do every problem, but I'll try to give you time to deal with some of them. Go ahead and do C and D. C and D. Solving equations. Again, I'm pausing in between here. All right, so hopefully you looked at C and just said multiply by 3 over -1. And when you do, you're going to end up with -5 halves. How many got C correct? Remember, negatives don't go in the denominator. You end up putting them in the numerator. So make sure that negative goes in the top. Be careful with your positives and negatives. D, add a -8 to both sides. Hopefully then you said that you had -12 on the right, I hope. Multiply both sides by 5/4. And that is going to end up with being a -15. And how many got -15 for D? All right. So just normal equations there. All right, try E and F. All right, again, some of you may run out of time, so that's fine. Just run out of time. You benefit if you'll listen to what I'm going to say here. Right, hopefully you added your like terms and got 4 in. Hopefully you added a -6 to both sides. Hopefully you moved that 4, and you should have had -5 halves for E. How many got that one correct? Again, if not, you got to take a look and see what where you went wrong. So 1n and 3n is 4n. Move the 6 by adding a -6 to both sides. Move the 4 by dividing both sides by 4. Reduce your final product. F, you should have moved the -6 first. That's going to be a +6. And then you're going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So 7 over -2. Oh, I'm a mess in here trying to go fast. So negative divided by negative is a positive. Be careful there. You get what? 4 times 7 is 28. N equals 28. And how many got F? Okay. Again, take note of stuff that is maybe giving you issues. If you have a question as I'm going along, make sure you raise your hand right away, and I'll be glad to try to help you out. All right. Yes, Adriana. The 4 is positive, and the -10. The 10 is negative. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. Okay. John, question? You sure? Okay. All right. Well, you can ask me later. All right. I wish I had time. We'd do it. But for time's sake, I'm going to do the more complicated one. Do H. Not only do you have to distribute, you have variables on both sides. So do H. All right. If you'll just pause where you're at real quickly on G. When you distribute, let me get my blue here. When you distribute, this should be a -6x and then a +8. Just be careful on that when you distribute. So with a negative. All right, on H, this is a 12n plus 3 minus 4 equals a 6n minus 16. Variables on both sides. You want to establish a side for your variable. I'm going to move the 6n to the other side. How do you move a positive 6n? You add its opposite to both sides. That leaves you now 6n. I can combine these like terms. They're on the same side. And that's where you're at that point. Now move things added first. You get 6n equals a -15. And we can do the shortcut of division. And now I'm going to end up with n equals -5 halves, if my brain will want to say that. How many got H correct? Okay, so there's a couple things with H, right? You've got to be able to distribute. You've got to remember how to move variables to the other side. They're moved by adding their opposite. If that would have been a negative 6n, I would have added a positive 6n to both sides. Then again, to finish up, things added, move by adding their opposite. Things multiplied, multiplying by their reciprocal. Any questions on that? Questions? Questions? Next one. All right, go ahead and do I. Do not do J yet. Just do I. All right, let's see how you did on I. So hopefully you decided to get all variables on the same side. I'll add a negative x. Now I have 3 negative x's and 2 positive x's. Leaves me 2 positive x's. I will also add up these like terms on the same side. And by the way, x minus x is 0. Move the positive 1 by adding its opposite to both sides. Move the 2 by dividing both sides by 2. You end up with x equals negative 1/2. How many got that correct? Okay, a decent amount of you, and the rest of you have to take note of what gave you issue. Jack? Did you get it correct? Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Jordan? Correct, and then I added to it the positive 5x's. I added all the like terms on the same side. Any other questions on that one? All right, see what you can do with J. When you look at J, anything come to mind? Anybody? Anything come to mind with J? Pamela? That is the special case. And with the special case, you've got to move that 2 first if you want to get it correct. You're going to multiply the left by 2 over 1 and the right by 2 over 1. That allows those 2's to go away. So you should end it up after that with 3n minus 1 equals a negative 10. Move the 1 by adding its opposite to both sides. 3n equals negative 9. Divide both sides by 3. And we're at n equals negative 3. How many got that correct? Okay. And the rest of you, hopefully you've got your memory refreshed on the special case. How do you recognize a special case? Again, note the difference here. The numerator not only has a variable, but it has something added to the variable in the numerator. The only way you're going to take care of that properly is to move that denominator first. So this is uncharacteristic. We really are technically moving something multiplied first, but that's the special case, and that's why we call it the special case. Any other questions on this one? Any questions on that one? Anybody? Okay. All right, 2 proportions. Go ahead and do K and L. All right, most people usually get K correct. Because the variable's in the top, it's very easy to solve. You just multiply both sides by 10 over 1. You could also cross multiply these and then solve if you choose to. That's how I'll do the second one. Hey, be careful, we got to reduce here. 5's divide out. 4/3 equals n. That's how your answer should be. If you put 1.3, you're going to get points taken off. We don't put those in the decimal form. We leave them in fractional form. How many got K correct? Question, Devin? 4/3 equals n or n equals 4/3. Either way is fine. You have your variable there and you have the equal sign, you got it in fractional form. That's fine. Okay, you got to be careful because the variable's in the denominator. A couple different ways you can solve it. With proportions, if you flip up one fraction, you can flip up the other. It's one way of solving it. So in other words, I have the right to make this x over 6. Austin, you spend so much time writing, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're not going to look back at that paper later on anyhow. You got all that stuff in your notes. You're just making it worse on yourself. Just watch. Okay, 35 over 14, you can flip it up. So that's one of the ways to approach it. Now the variable's in the top. Whoa. Now the variable's in the top, and that's pretty easy to solve. So if I were here, then I would multiply both sides by 6 over 1. And I'd get ready to finish this thing off. Man, what in the world is this thing doing? All right, 2 times 3 and 2 times 7. 2's are gone, and 5 times 7. And the 7's are gone. And I'm going fast here, so let's see if I can find what I got left. 15. 15 would be the answer to that. So that's one way of doing it. Let me see if I can get this to root. The other way is to cross multiply. X times 14 is 14x. 6 times 35, if you remember, I told you guys leave them unmultiplied. Why? Because oftentimes this thing will reduce, and why multiply it all out and then have to unmultiply it. Again, notice we're in the same spot as we were a minute ago. The 2's divide out, the 7's divide out, and x equals 15. Okay, so first method, you got to flip both up. Second method, cross multiply. How many got I correct? Or L, rather. How many got that one correct? All right, not enough. A lot of you are going to miss that on Wednesday, on Thursday. If you're not careful, you're going to miss those proportions because the variable's in the bottom. And that's where you guys usually end up messing up. Your variable's in the bottom, and you don't take note of that, and therefore you're in trouble. All right. Stick an M in there. Give yourself, go as high to K as you can. 2x squared minus 3 equals 15. Go ahead and solve that. 2x squared minus 3 equals 15. Okay, M, hopefully you looked at it and said, oh, we've got a squared term. Got to be careful with that. I'm still going to move the things multiply times variable. I'm trying to isolate my squared term. Divide both sides by 2. Now I'm at x squared equals 9. I will take the square root of both sides. And what am I not going to forget? The plus minus. Don't take the square root until you isolate the variable. How many got x equal plus or minus 3? How many of you forgot the plus minus? Let me see your hands. And the rest of you forgot how to do the problems. These are in your notes. Go back and take a look at equations where the variable is squared. All right, go ahead and try O. Here's O. Negative 2 times the square root of x minus 1 plus 7 equals negative, plus 1 equals negative 7. Negative 2 times the square root of x minus 1 plus 1 equals negative 7. All right, so the method, just like we had to isolate the squared term, you have to isolate the radical. How are you going to do that? Things are both added to and multiplied times the variable. Move things added first. How are you going to do that? By adding their opposite to both sides. How do you move things multiplied? By multiplying by the reciprocal. In this case, you can do the shortcut. Anybody remember what would have happened if the right-hand side would have been negative? What would you do if the right hand was negative right now? Well, if you remembered, you'd write no solution. Looks like a lot of you wouldn't have remembered. I hope you've been looking at your notes. Hope you've been looking through the sections that are on the exam. If you haven't done anything yet, you better get busy tonight. You got a lot of stuff to look over. Now you're ready to square both sides. X minus 1 equals 16. Finish off by moving the 1. And x equals 17 was the solution to that. How many got that correct? Way not enough. So obviously a lot of you guys have issues when the variable's squared and when the variable is part of the radicand. Go back to your notes and take a look at those example problems in your notes and the progression that we did when we were solving those. All right, let's do a few Percent problems, let's do A, B, and C. A, B, and C. By the way, what do you want to ask when you finish a percent problem? Ask the ma'ams, right? Does my answer make sense? All right, A, hopefully you're going to divide both sides by 60. You're going to remember that percents are in decimal form. Therefore, when you divide your 24 by your 60, when your calculator says 0.4, you know that that's percent in decimal form. You know to move your decimal point 2 places to the left and get 40%. That is the solution, and that is the answer. Andrew? Huh? I'm frozen, thank you. All right. So again, you're going to divide both sides by 60, right? Number equals percent times the of number. And then you're going to take 24, divide by 60, get 0.4, and say, oh yes, percents are always in decimal form in the formula. Move the decimal point 2 places to the right, or multiply times 100, and you get 40%. Second one, you're looking for the of number. Divide both sides by 0.12. This is all in your calculator. 20 divided by 0.12 is 166.7 equals the of number. Let's see. 20 is about 12% of 166.7. That's reasonable. 50% would be 80 something. So 25% would be 40 something. Yeah, that's about right, 12%. All right, and then the last one, again, number equals percent times the of number. This is straight multiplication. 0.68 times 32. And you're going to get 21.76. So I want 68% of 32. 50% of 32 is 16. Should be a little bit more. That is reasonable. How many got all three of those correct? Not good. You better go back. You better figure out what's going on. You're going to see those tomorrow. I'm sorry, on part 2 on Thursday. All right, so that's kind of, we've already done then examples of these. Let's see. Time's sake. Let's see where I'm at here. All right, let's skip D and E for time's sake. Let's go to F and G. Do F and do G. Okay, if you'll pause where you're at, you'll do better to watch than to continue on trying to work. All right, so the first problem, 2 different ways you can solve it. If you use number equals percent times the of number, if you go 0.5 for 15% times 359, when you get $53.85, you have to understand that this is the percent off, is what you just found. 15% is what you get off. Therefore, if you're going to finish the problem this way, you got to go 359 minus 53.85. Final answer, 305.15. How many got that right? 305.15. Now you can do it in one step. If you get 15% off, you have to pay 85%. What's 85% of 359? $305.15. That's a one-step way to do the problem. If you got 15 off, you're paying 85. You got 20 off, you're paying 80. You got 10% off, you're paying 90. You got 5% off, you're paying 95. You can do it in one step. But look, folks, if you do it the other way, so I saw some of you, numbers of you had 53.85 as your answer. Come on, think. What is the sale price? So the item now is all of a sudden 50 bucks. It was $359, and that's 15% off. You know better than that. You know your answer is wrong. So stop and think about it. All right, the second one, again, can be done two different ways. If you increase the price by 18%, what will be the markup price? So again, you can figure out 18% of $45.99 and then add it, or you can say the markup is 100% plus the 18% markup for a total of 118%. So what is 118% of $45.99? It's a way to do it in one step. Again, if you work better the other way, then do it the other way, but make sure you understand what your answer is. So 1.18 times $45.99 is $54.27. And that is then the item has increased by 18%. You know, again, what's roughly 25% of 45? So take 45, cut it in half. That's about 22. What's half of 22? 11. So I should be a little less than $11 more. And I'm a little less than $11 more. DeMams likes the answer. I'm good to go. How many got both of those correct? How many got at least one of the two correct? That would be everybody that just had your hand up, at least one of the two correct. All right, so again, take note of what's getting you and fix it between now and Thursday. Again, we're going over part 2, right? All right, I want you guys to do, let's do A, B, C, and what should be D. Don't ask me how I got all the way to F, but such is life. All right, do those first 4. So you got 3,628,800 for 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. B, if you had to do the formula, 8 factorial divided by 8 minus 3 factorial. C would be 26 factorial divided by 26 minus 10 factorial. Or you can do a shortcut, 8 times 7 times 6 for B. And then 26 times 25 times 24 times 23 times 22 times 21 times 20, etc. That's no shortcut. And then C, combination formula is 26 factorial divided by 26 minus 10 factorial times 10 factorial. 5,311,735. Remember, on something like this, give some decimal places because 13, a decimal point of 13 is in the tens of trillions. Okay? So 1.9 is 19 trillion. So if you cut it off there, you just got rid of 275 billion. You just rounded off. 275 billion. So again, if it's a big power, give a few more decimal places. You don't want to round off too much. Any questions on any of those? All right. Again, all you're doing is trying to take note of what's giving you trouble so you know where to work and what notes to look at. Whoa, time's almost gone. Let's go quick here. P of 2. How many 2's are there? 2. How many total? 8. Make sure you reduce, right? 3 or red. The 1 is a 3 or red, the 3 is a 3 or red, the 3 is a 3 or red, and the 3 is a 3 or red. That would be 4 out of 8. Now the last one, though, is P is 3 and red. There are only 2 that are 3 and red, and that would be a 1/4. All right, you got to be careful with the ors and the ands. Stem and leaf plot. Stem and leaf plot. Mode should be easy. Go ahead and write the mode. That won't take you long. And go ahead and do the median. Do the range. We don't have time for the mean. Do the mode, median, and range. Don't have time for the mean. Jack. I got to get you guys back here as I want to get to the last one. Okay, the mode. There are 298s. I think that's it, right? Yeah, that's the only thing. Median. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It will be the seventh one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 86 is the median. Range, biggest minus lowest. What is that? 30. And again, mean we don't have the time for. Box and whisker plot, you're going to have to look at those yourself. I'd be careful. A lot of you forget what the interquartile range is. Last one, a frequency distribution. Be careful. Go ahead and give me the mode. Give me the median. Give me the range. Again, we don't have time for the mean. Kyle's checking out already, huh? All right, so mode is easy. There are 6 fives. 5 is the mode. Median, there are 14 pieces of data. Again, if you need to, list them out. 14, that means average of 7th and the 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 were both 5s. 5 plus 5 divided by 2 is 5. What's the range? Highest 12 minus lowest 1 being 11. And be careful with the mean. 12 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 all divided by 14. Hope you do well tomorrow. Study, study, study. You're dismissed.